ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest gaming news with your host, V-Gaming Junkie.
So
there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness. It is all about that electronic good stuff as we dive deep into all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. In the ongoing struggle against NFTs, it seems Gamestop was selling other people's indie games without permission. As reported on by GameSpot, Nathan Ello allegedly included Worm Nom Nom and Galactic Wars in a nifty arcade collection without permission. Nathan claims the intention was to include open-sourced games for the collection, but these games on itch.io actually require creator permission. Now to Nathan's credit, he offered the full $55,000 from the sales to the original developers. However, that doesn't change the fact that he profited off their backs, and one of the devs even said it would probably be in some crypto form anyway. Making matters even worse, nifty games apparently can't be removed from the blockchain. And it would seem this is nothing new either. GameSpot describes it as a dime a dozen cases where other people's works are being used without permission. As if you needed enough reasons to oppose NFTs, now there's stolen content being peddled through it. It never fails, does it? Just keep singing NFTs praises, you game companies, you. And so Microsoft claims that Sony is actually paying to keep developers from adding content to Xbox Game Pass. As part of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, they filed with Brazil's national competition regulator. They claim that Sony is flat out paying for blocking rights for content not only to Xbox Game Pass, but to other competing subscription services. Of course, as The Verge points out, it's not entirely black and white. As much as I diss on Sony, and in my opinion for good reason, Microsoft isn't exactly virtuous either. It seems in the ever so infamous Epic Games vs. Apple trial, Microsoft was trying to get exclusive streaming rights with some games themselves. Granted, Microsoft at least made it clear that after acquiring Activision, they'll still keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Guess we'll have to wait and see what effect this has on the Activision acquisition moving forward, as well as exclusive streaming rights in general. It's pretty obvious that both Sony and Microsoft, like pretty much all game companies, will try to bend things in their favor as much as they can. You ask me though, I think there should be more access to games, not less. Either make more games in-house, or just make your hardware specifically more enticing to buy on its own merits. Don't hold outside franchises hostage. That's just my silly little personal opinion though. In other news, it seems the creator of Breaking Bad has expressed interest in making a video game. This is probably obvious, but the first thing Vince thought of was Grand Theft Auto. After all, Breaking Bad would fit so well with Grand Theft Auto that I could easily see some kind of DLC for it. There was actually a phone game called Breaking Bad Criminal Elements, but it shut down a year after releasing. Basically, it had you hired to work with Walt and Jesse, and you move up the ladder until you become your own kingpin. A type of empire construction game, so think Clash of Clans. At one point, Vince attempted to make a PlayStation VR game, but it didn't go anywhere. My guess is he decided against it very early on in the conceptual stage. His team actually developed 3 or 4 stories for different video game concepts, but who knows if any of them will come to pass. He wants it to be quality, to not repeat the same mistake of E.T. for the Atari 2600. For those who don't know, it's arguably the most infamous adaptation in video game history. Literally, copies of it were buried underground. Dan, AMC's boss, is open for doing spin-offs according to him. Here's hoping something comes out of this, although I wouldn't trust Rockstar with that. They may have been known for quality games, but if talks on GTA 6 are any indication, spicy content is going to get neutered if you go through them. Still, who knows, maybe there's some hope for the future for Walt's little underground shenanigans. Speaking of adaptations, it's time to go the opposite direction and talk about something being adapted from a video game. It seems there's a Pacman movie underway. Ordinarily, I'd be heavily skeptical, but this is coming from the producer that made the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, so I imagine it could turn out to be pretty good. You can never really predict how these things will turn out in the end, but it can't be any worse than Pac-Man's appearance in that fairly bad Pixels movie. I don't blame you if you don't remember it, you're not really missing out on anything. As Games Radar points out, Pac-Man also had a cartoon in 1982 by Hanna-Barbera. We'll see how this one stacks up. It'll most likely be in CGI since that's how this studio seems to roll. It seems Bandai Namco themselves are even behind this new adaptation, so that's probably a good sign. At the very least, it means it won't be completely in the hands of a movie company. If they're also smart, they'll seek out some form of consultation from Toru Watani given he made Pac-Man. I'm not saying he has to be a creative director of the whole thing, but maybe get his approval on the script or something. But then it's very arcadey Pacman, where the closest thing to depth is the ghost's very simple personality, so it's not like you have to worry about hurting their character too much. Please note, however, that I'm not encouraging Hollywood to try this. Obviously, any IP can be ruined if you go out of your way to do so, as we've learned time and time again. All I'm saying is that Star Wars isn't very complicated and you still managed to botch it up in my opinion. Controversial hot takes aside, I'm hopeful that this won't be one of those cases and will turn out to be genuinely good, but we shall have to wait and see. In other news, Jez San, a developer of Star Fox and founder of Argonaut Software, was interviewed recently. On Edge magazine, he was asked what it was like to work with Shigeru Miyamoto. Apparently, Miyamoto was the type of person to often want everything done completely different from how it was presented. Jez mentioned with Super Mario World, there wasn't a single level made up front that he didn't completely change. He'd try something then say, let's throw it away and try something else. He did describe Miyamoto as down to earth, of course, so it's not like he was just trashing on him. As he points out, this wouldn't work for most since deadlines and budgets tend to be a very limited thing. You know, that Nintendo was one of the very few that could actually get away with something like this. I can definitely see that, and they tend to have very quality games, so maybe you can say it's worth Miyamoto's very extreme trial by fire. Certainly not a tactic for everyone to try though, just those that can afford to burn through some more time and money. So if you are hoping to get Dragon Ball on Fortnite, then I'm here to tell you that your wish has been granted. That's right, there's a teaser for Dragon Ball content in Fortnite. This is shocking and not at all expected. Or at least it would be if we didn't already have Naruto characters in the game. Let's be real, it was most likely inevitable at that point. Given how many people wanted Goku to be in Super Smash Bros. With it being impossible due to Nintendo rejecting anime characters, this is probably the best you're ever gonna get. Well, I mean, unless it gets on multiverses or something. It'll be interesting to see the Z-Warriors packing heat, but you know how cross-promotions are. Now all we need is some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters to make it in, and my day will truly be complete. Star Shotgun! All joking aside, it truly amazes me just how encompassing Fortnite actually is with its character roster. There really aren't any rules for who can make it in as a character. You've got everything from Marvel and DC to Star Wars, anime, and even Nerf, humorously enough. Since it's a shooting game though, it'd be really interesting if characters like the Doomslayer or Duke Nukem ever got in. On that note, all I've got to say is, rip and tear. So after last week's super weird bug, there's yet another bug in The Sims 4. While this one isn't anywhere near as disturbing, it's nonetheless very, very weird. This glitch actually concerns Sims 4 pets. Basically, there's a dog walking walk-by where a Sim can take their dog for a walk. However, this bug causes a human Sim to spawn in instead. This seems to happen if the intended dog isn't available to spawn in for whatever reason. It will just go ahead and replace that dog with an available target, which can include humans due to an oversight. They can't function with the dog walking, so they just freeze in place. Thankfully, as far as I know, you can't have a relationship with them. Instead, they're left unable to do anything until they starve. Talk about a gruesome way to go. Unlike last week's bug, this one's pretty clearly a bug and will likely be fixed before too long. You know, if it hasn't been already by the time this video goes up. That's the funny thing about doing one weekly news, they're lumped together, and I tend to complete earlier stories early so I'm not stuck doing all of them at the last minute. Either way, it's kinda weird that this is the second time within a short time frame that The Sims 4 gets a newsworthy bug like this. That I'm made aware of anyway. And as always, straight out of the oven of Games Radar, it's time for the latest batch of release dates. The 15th has Backpack Hero for PC, while the 16th begins with Blossom Tales 2, The Minotaur Prince for PC and Switch, as well as Roller Drome for PC and PlayStation. The 16th rounds out with Tribes of Midgard for Xbox and Switch, as well as Way of the Hunter for PC, PS5, and Series X. The 17th just has Catacins for PC, while the 18th begins with the Ascent Cyber Heist DLC for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and Curse to Golf for the 6 major platforms. Finally, the 18th rounds out with RPG Time, The Legend of Wright for Switch, while the 19th has Madden 23 for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. This week's epic freebie until next Thursday is Cook Serve Delicious 3? The way I said that is deliberate because that's how the title is. As you may or may not fully expect, it's a kitchen management game. And that concludes the news broadcast as always. I hope you found it entertaining and informative. If you good people want more content, I Let's Play every single day at high noon, live stream Mondays and Thursdays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m., and I do news videos like this one every Friday at 6 p.m. All in Eastern Standard Time, of course. If you're a real junkie for all things gaming like I am, then feel free to hit that subscribe and bell icon to get your next fix. A like and a comment are always appreciated for that engagement, but I just hope you genuinely enjoyed yourself, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread this broadcast around like video game adaptations. Capitalize on life, peace out, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.